alive today. It doesn't matter what they say.
Okay, well, hello and welcome to another Red Lotus Life um, presentation where I'm super excited about this one because this is something that we go through in real time every single day. And so I love this about, this is what has inspired it actually, is because Sarah Elizabeth and I go through this every single day, these scenarios. Not only that, but we also mentor other spiral pracs in this way as well. And so this has actually come up super recent in quite a few things. And we thought, you know what, let's just go ahead and let's do a presentation on it. Let's do a quick course on it. And um, hopefully you all will like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into our welcome and everything. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So welcome to intention and self-responsibility in trauma-informed practice. This is going to be a micro skills lab for social workers and clinicians. And we're thinking it's going to be about, I mean, you're catching us at the beginning of this filming. So we're thinking it's going to be at least one CE and it's a recorded asynchronous presentation. We have these current times, right? As social workers and behavioral health professionals, these current times are super crazy, super intense, as we all know. And we are on this front line of serving, right? Serving others and serving our communities. What we've noticed in our own personal practices is that the clients are showing up in this um, very, you know, they're operating in a sympathetic nervous state. And what is happening is they're all in survival mode. We're noticing that they are experiencing these pressures of current times. Not only are we experiencing it, but they are, and their behaviors have actually intensified. So sometimes the way that they come across or the way they communicate or, in session or anything like that can kind of put us off guard sometimes, right? As the professional and as the mentor or as the social worker in these situations. And so we thought it was really super important to do this one specifically because we're noticing it come up quite a bit. We're also noticing it come up in those that we mentor as well. So welcome to intention and self-responsibility in trauma-informed practice. So in this training, we'll build a practical and trauma-informed micro skill you can use immediately to reduce unconscious reactivity in your work and strengthen your clinical presence. This is a continued education training designed for professional development and practice improvement. I wanted to go into a little bit of some of the disclosures and stuff like that. So this course is educational. It's not psychotherapy, and it's not a substitute for supervision, consultation, or clinical decision making in complex situations. You'll be invited into brief reflection. You can opt out of any exercise at any time and still complete this course. So if anything feels activating, please feel free to pause the video, orient to your environment, and return when you're ready, or step away and use your support system. Um, CEs, it's always this like housekeeping stuff that we have to get out of the way right away. So just to learn now how to earn a CE, because some of you are actually using this for your continued education for ASWE CEs. So to receive your CE certificate, you'll need to watch the full training, pass the post test, complete the evaluation, and then submit your attestation. Words. I mean, really, Red Lotus Life, man. We always have these things with words. But anyway, just go and complete everything there. If you were doing the pilot test, and you are getting free CEs, just make sure that you also do all of that plus complete the pilot test. Super important. We can't give out the CEs. I know a lot of you have actually been going through all of the courses, but we haven't been submitting the CEs because we need the post test and especially the pilot test. If you're part of the pilot test program, then we need those taken care of. And as soon as you get those done, your CE will be sent out to you right away. Okay, so your team today, your team today is myself. I'm Lori Kinsey. I'm an advanced spiral practitioner. I specialize in domestic violence, abuse, and human trafficking. And then also we have Sarah Elizabeth Hoffman. She's my co-creator over here, and she specializes in inner child work, nonviolent communication, womb work, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of really cool stuff. And then together we co-collaborate and create here in Red Lotus Life. So Red Lotus Life is a beautiful community where we provide resources and tools. A lot of them are free. Some of them are continued education for ASWB as an ASWB ACE provider. And you can go and you can check all that out. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's get in here.
Okay, so I'm just going to take over now and just go over the learning objectives for this presentation. So the first one is going to be to describe how intention plus self-awareness actually influences the practitioner and creates an impact. Two, we're going to identify signs of unconscious reactivity. Three, we're going to apply a three-step trigger to choice process to a description, a vignette. And then four, we're going to select two integration actions that support ethical practice. So here's what you'll be able to do by the end of this hour. We're going to keep these objectives in mind as we move through the concepts and practice. Is there anything you'd like to share about the objectives, Lori?
No, I'm just really excited to actually teach. We've been listening to the feedback that everyone's been providing. We know that you're looking for techniques and tools, and so we thought this would be a really a good one to touch on. So yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so I'm just going to frame this a little bit and why it actually matters. So our nervous system shows up with us. And so we can show up with in a space of reactivity, which is actually a risk for reenactment, rescuing, and rupture when it comes to our clients. And then we're going to show up with a regulated choice, which equals safety, clarity, and our ethics, right? So in helping professions, we know that it's easy to focus on the client's system, on the client's nervous system, but our system is always in the room as well. Our nervous system, our history, our stress load, and our unconscious habits and beliefs. So when we don't notice our own reactivity, we risk subtle drift, rescuing, overfunctioning, shutting down, becoming rigid, or pushing for change faster than the client's readiness. When we can notice and choose, we protect the relationship, reduce rupture, and we're able to stay aligned with our ethics and our scope. And what would you like to share here?
Yeah, I think, we specialize in the unconscious, right? We
Mhm.
specialize in the unconscious, we specialize in releasing conditioning. And here's the thing is that I think a lot of times that's that's what we don't know. We all know it, right? We've all been taught it, but it's this reminder of like we're not the only ones in the room, or they're not the only ones in the room. We also have our own nervous system. We have all of our own traumas and triggers and everything else. I mean, it is interesting what happens. We also specialize in embodiment. And so that's what we're going to touch on too here is how the body reacts. It's going to start to show you and speak to you and communicate to you when your nervous system is actually getting involved in what's happening in your session or in this communication with a client, right? So, yeah, it's so good. We see it every day, and again, we're noticing it in those that we are also supporting in other ways in their mentorships. So.
Yeah, so I'm just going to move on to the source for our inspiration with this presentation here. And just know that our transformational outcomes are only limited by one, our practitioner consciousness, and two, by strength of intention. So this is how we're showing up during a session when we're communicating, and in a session. So the premise here is actually guiding this training. The premise guiding this training is simple. It's transformative outcomes, which are shaped by the practitioner's level of consciousness. Again, reiterating that, and the strength of intention. And the source for this particular concept right here is actually Clear Your Shit. It's a book by Dane Thomas, who is the creator of the spiral. So when we put that in clinical terms, we can translate that as our capacity for self-awareness, reflective functioning, and regulated choice. It can also be said that it's the clarity of what we are aiming to embody in our role as practitioners. And then it's really important as well to know that this is all about the orientation and self-responsibility. So we're helping others, clients and clinicians, and we're building the capacity to be less driven by unconscious limiting patterns. And this is also stated in the book Clear Your Shit by Dane Thomas. So here we're just going to share some definitions. The first one being intention. What is an intention? It is a values-aligned aim guiding behavior. What is consciousness? So this is the clinical translation. Consciousness is self-awareness plus reflective capacity. Then we have here unconscious reactivity. Automatic protective responses outside of our deliberate choice. So let's define our terms. And Laura, do you have anything that you want to share here?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay. So again, in this training, the word intention means a values-aligned aim that guides your behavior under pressure. It is not a wish, it's a chosen orientation. We always want to be orienting towards our clients, right? So when we talk about consciousness, we're using a practical translation. You're able to notice what's happening inside of you, inside of the client, name it accurately, and then respond with a choice. And then here with unconscious reactivity, this is when the protective system, the nervous system runs the show. It's creating urgency, it's wanting to rescue, it's pleasing, it's shutting down. There's rigidity, there's defensiveness, all of these things that we notice. And these are all human behaviors. But the goal isn't to actually eliminate eliminate these reactions, but it's actually to notice them earlier so that we can choose to do something different more often. Yeah, and so those are the definitions that we're going to be working with.
Yeah, I love that you define that because again, we create these CEs and this continued education based off of what we hear from all of you. And we've been hearing a lot from social workers around that they are experiencing they are experiencing these triggers, and they don't really know how to respond whenever clients come in and they're a little combative, or they're saying this stuff doesn't work, or whatever it might be. And so I love that this is what we're talking about, like intention. This is what Sarah Elizabeth and I teach on all the time. This is foundational piece. I feel like a lot of times we forget about that, right? We forget about what is our intention. What's the intention? And also, what is our role? And coming back into that role. So, the consciousness here being that practical translation, and then the unconscious reactivity, right? A lot of times we'll fall into that. And so, whenever I'm saying we're receiving these questions, one of the questions a lot of times is like, oh man, I think I messed up. I think I messed up because I reacted. I reacted. This is what happened. I shifted out of my role. I don't really know how that happened. It happened so fast. I think I'm going to lose this client now, or shoot, I might get sued. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So that's why we think it's super important to even begin with this definition of the terms we're going to be using around intention, consciousness, and then unconscious reactivity, because it is human. And so it really is just going back into this like practical tool that we're going to teach you, and we're going to have you even be able to use in these exercises, so that you can choose more often, be consciously choosing how you would like to respond versus react. Mhm.
Yes, amazing. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about here is common signals of that reactivity. What does it look like when reactivity is occurring? So the internal cues that you might be feeling are going to be maybe a tight chest. You might feel heat, that there might be numbness in your fingers. You might be having racing thoughts, some sense of urgency. And so some other behavioral cues might be over-explaining, trying to fix things, withdrawing, even physically, like withdrawing in the body, um, lecturing, people-pleasing, relational cues, and then that can show up as rupture with the client relationship, power struggles, or distancing. So these are just the common cues that tell you that, yeah, reactivity is present. And you'll feel that in the body first. So again, internal cues might look like the tightness, the heat, the numbness, or the sudden urgency. And behavioral clues would be over-explaining, fixing, moving too fast, or shutting down, or maybe our voice is starting to get sharp. When you can spot these cues, you have a choice point. This is when we get to make a choice. Would you like to share anything on that, Lori?
Yeah, I think it's always like really cool, because this is something that like I would always ignore. I wouldn't even notice. I would be
Right.
so out of my body that I wouldn't even notice that my body was doing these things. And so I was somebody prior to being really anchored in my intention and my role as a practitioner. I was somebody who would have the over explaining, right? The over explaining was something that I was really prone to, the people pleasing, and then, yes, most importantly, the distancing. So, this is important. It's important to be able to feel into the body with these internal cues, and then really notice what you notice about the behavioral cues, and then these relational cues, because it really is our role as social workers and professionals in these industries to we come into these professions so that we can actually be of service. And I think a lot of times, um, I don't want to say that we forget that, but the unconscious reaction happens, right? And I was very much guilty of that myself until I started to become very anchored in this principle. So, mhm.
Yeah, this principle is amazing. It is everything actually as a practitioner to me. So we're just going to move on if you're ready
Mhm.
to now the micro skill. So this is where we actually get to move from the trigger to the choice. So Trigger, what does it mean? Now we're going to make the choice. So we're going to name the trigger, first of all. So that's the event or the internal cue. Two, we're going to name the meaning, which is the story, quote unquote, or the assumption that's being made, whatever that projection is. And then we're going to name our choice, choosing from a regulated, role-aligned response. So this is the core skill of this training. It's intentionally simple so that you can use it in real time. So again, step one, we're naming that trigger. What happened externally and what did you notice internally? Two, naming the meaning. So trigger, meaning, choice. Name the meaning, the story, the interpretation, or the assumption or projection that lit it up to begin with that you noticed in your body. And then step three, again, we want to name that choice. So this is coming from a regulated nervous system response aligned with your role, your ethics, and the client's dignity. And what would you like to share about this process, Lori?
I really enjoy this one because when we do this trigger, meaning, and choice, and we really practice it, it can happen just like that. It sounds like it's a lot of different steps, but honestly, once you get used to doing this, it's going to happen very quickly for you. And what I love about this is it completely removes us out of um, the reactive state. Like it's not about us anymore, especially that part about the client's dignity, right? This is a lot of times whenever they say, "Oh man, I think I messed up because I reacted." And now I might have, a client that's upset, or I might lose a client or this or that, or even, you know, um, I don't know. It's just really nice because you can move through it really fast. It's a practice and a tool that will just shift you back into integrity with your role. And that's the whole thing with us is we are all about integrity and we're all about the work that we're here to do. So this is really, really, it's always about shifting the unconscious into the conscious, right? Whenever we have it in our awareness. So yeah, let's keep going. I love it.
Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna model this process for you really quickly. So just for an example, the trigger, a client might have a trigger and the client's gonna say, okay, you don't get it, this is pointless, like what are we doing here? And that internal cue on your part might be like that chest tightens, right? And you feel like the impulse to maybe defend yourself. Um, so moving from there, now we're going, okay, what is the meaning that we're giving it? I'm failing, I'm not competent. If I don't fix this now, I'm gonna lose the client, or we're gonna lose the relationship dynamic in some way. And then moving into choice, so I'm noticing that I want to rush. I'm going to slow down. Then I'm going to respond. Thank you for saying that. Can we pause so that I can understand more what feels pointless to you right now? And then we're going to notice. Notice the choice is not about being perfect. It's actually about being present, regulated, and aligned. It's such a simple process.
Mhm.
And the more
It
we
is.
practice,
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
the more we practice, the more we just naturally start to have, respond in that way instead of reacting.
Mhm.
Okay.
I experienced something like this actually last week. This is why I said, Erico, it's so relevant. It's always relevant, it's always
Mm-hmm.
relevant. But I actually experienced a client who was saying the same thing to me. And instead of me, like I felt that, right? I felt the tightness in my chest. I felt the constriction and I went, ooh, what's that? And it was exactly this, the whole like, oh my gosh, I'm failing. Like I was mostly concerned about failing the client at that point. But what happened, instead of me being defensive or anything like that, I was able to remove myself and be more present with that, and then now be able to respond. And it's responding back with, can I get more clarity on this? What exactly are you looking for? That in my situation, that's what I asked for. I said, well, I can understand that there's some modalities or some practices that may not be as helpful for some as others. And so what is it about it that you feel isn't working? And then we were able to get real clear on exactly what she was looking for and exactly how she wanted to move through her experience. So this was really amazing. It could have gone totally the opposite way, right? I could have totally been defending the modality we were using, the practice we were using, all of that, but instead wanted to gain more clarity, because it had nothing to do with me and failing and all of that stuff. It actually had to do with what it was that she was wanting to experience. So we moved into a totally different modality and a different practice. And now, she's good, we're both good. The client relationship is still there. So that's a perfect example. I love it.
Yeah, that was a perfect example. And by being able to do that, now everybody's happy, everybody's satisfied. There's no distress in anyone's nervous system.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we'd actually like for everyone to just take a moment and just actually practice, reflect and pause. So this is actually going to be a private reflection, so you can, pause the video while you're watching it and just ask some questions. Ask yourself some questions and actually write your answers down. So the first question is, what's a reactivity pattern that you notice in yourself? And just take a few moments to write your response. And then the second question is, what cue tells you that it's happening? So what is that internal cue? What are you feeling in your body? And then the third question is, what intention would actually support you in this moment, in this trigger? And I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on this.
No, I'm going to go ahead and start the timer just so we can stay on time,
Okay.
like on task. But this is important. What's the reactivity that you notice in yourself? I feel like this type of stuff happens all the time. So I feel like it might be pretty easy for someone to think of a situation, right? A situation that happened pretty recent. And if you can't think of one in your actual practice, think about it in your personal life. So if it's not in your professional life, think about it in your personal life. So what happened? Were you trying to rush out of that client session? Were you happy whenever it was over? Were you sweating? Were you constricted? Were you over explaining? Were you shutting down? Did you notice yourself shutting down and kind of retreating and all of that? What's the pattern? And then this cue tells you so much about what's happening. So much. And if we actually get to the meaning part, it's like going underneath, right? Going underneath the feeling, going underneath the behavioral pattern. I mean, like, what is that? And then this last part about what intention would support you, bringing it back to the intention, because I think so many of us lose that. So, yeah, I think, yeah, that's about time. We can definitely move on. If you're watching the video, just pause it if you need more time.
Yeah, and also keep in mind this is private. This is for you and your practice. You don't want to write down anything, like any kind of identifying client info. It's just naming the pattern and the cue and the intention that you want to embody. So here we have what we are calling scenario A. And with this scenario A, we're working with the client, and the client is returning to a coercive partner. And so there might be, prompts or triggers that we want to move through. So the prompt will be, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the prompt is going to be moving through the trigger, meaning, and choice. So again, with scenario A client shares that they're returning to a partner with a history of coercive control. You might feel the urgency and the frustration. So then we want to move through this process. What is the trigger? What happened? And what did you feel in your body? What is the meaning of the story that came up? And then the choice, what response protects the client's dignity, supports safety and planning, and stays within our role and our scope. So after moving through all of this, we're again just going to pause the video for 2 to 3 minutes, or you will want to pause the video for 2 to 3 minutes and then write your responses. And then after the pause, we're going to look into like what are the common meanings here and what do they include. So it might be I have to stop this, or if I don't convince them, I'm failing. So if we're not able to convince them not to go back to the coercive partner, then that's not our fault. But a regulated, role-aligned choice sounds more like this. Let's slow down and explore your safety needs and options. We can plan support. That keeps the relationship intact and supports harm reduction. And I know that as practitioners, this is something that Lori and I experience very often. So I know that you probably have something you'd like to share.
Yeah, yes. I mean, specializing in abuse and domestic violence and trafficking, human trafficking. It's like this is um, something that's not new actually in this work. As we all know, it takes on average someone 7 times to leave a relationship or situation. And so even after they've left, whenever I say like fully leave, right? So we actually experience that quite a bit. And I know that all of you do too who work in these areas. So that is a trigger. And I'll just share the reason why. I mean, you can see all of this. There's a lot actually out there about my story, but it's like I went into this work because I am a survivor of that. And so the trigger would be like, oh, that remembrance in my body, right? It's going to be that trigger of, oh, I just don't want this person to go back. Like almost like a panicky feeling is kind of what happens with me. And so I literally have to go into the meaning of like, okay, what is this? Oh, it's because I've been helping this person, I've been supporting this person, we've been working through things, and then oh man, right? Going back. And then the choice is to actually stop, to breathe, to go, okay, what's my role here? What is my ethical role? And going back to the ethics, I mean, like, how can I be of support? My role is support. My role is here to help them with, XYZ, whatever that might be. And so this is actually super perfect well, let's slow down, right? Like to keep their dignity, not like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, oh, you're going back, none of those things. It's like keeping their dignity in mind and going, okay, so let's slow down and let's explore safety needs and options. Like I love this part about let's put a plan in place, right? Especially if this is one that's like a violent situation.
Mhm.
And then you can help them create a plan in that way and actually be of support. So it's again just shifting back into that role. What is my role here? What are the ethics of this role? And moving into that. So this is actually a really perfect example. I mean, this is something that or me personally, I move through quite often
Yeah.
with those that I work with. So mm.
Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and move on to our next scenario, scenario B. Scenario B is the client is challenging your competency. And so we're going to then move through those prompts of trigger, meaning, and choice. So here with scenario B, client challenges competency within a session. You notice tightness and you want to end the session early. So we're going to run the loop again. And just go ahead and pause this video again, take a couple of minutes. And then coming back, what might the meanings include? So that might be, I'm being attacked, I'm not safe, or I need to prove myself somehow. A regulated choice might look like, I want to understand what isn't working for you. Can we clarify what you need right now? And this is actually going to preserve the power with rather than power over. So we're taking away any of the hierarchy that can show up. And what would you like to share on this, Lori?
So this is a really important scenario.
It is.
So I hope everybody actually paused this one because this is something that we see quite often that people are asking about. They literally say, I don't think I know what I'm doing. Like whenever they come, I don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't think that like they don't have the confidence in themselves, especially if there's somebody who's new and out there doing this work. Because it is common, right? It's common for a client to actually challenge your competency, especially if they're not seeing results in their own lives. And again, this has really nothing to do with us, right? It has nothing to do with the practitioner in any way, shape, or form, or the social worker. What it does is, I mean, with this work that we all do, it really is, the client or whoever it is that you're working with, they're going to get out of everything what they put in. And so again, it's just like removing yourself from that. So the trigger, right? The trigger is, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. That's the trigger, right? Like what's the meaning behind that? And then it's like going underneath that meaning. So trigger, meaning, choice. So the trigger, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And you can literally see me like deflated. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I even helping this person? And then the meaning going underneath that. That can go into worthiness, that can go into failure, that can go into perfection. I mean, that can go into so many things, self-esteem issues, all kinds of stuff, right? So all the things that's coming up within us. But then it's that choice of like, okay, pull like again, identifying with that role. What is our role? What is the ethics here in this role? And it's like removing our own reaction, right? Our own reaction, our own nervous system from the situation, moving back into that, shifting back into that. And now it's like, okay, I want to understand, right? Because that is your role. I want to understand what isn't working for you. Can we clarify what you need right now? Because you are capable and you are able to help and serve those that you are working with. And so it is preserving the power with rather than the power over, because reactive state could look like you just want to end the session. You never want to be with that client again. You just want to run, right? The fight, flight, freeze starts happening. You either want to fight or you want to fly and get out of there, or you want to freeze and you just shut down. And that's just not serving any of us. So that's why we're saying once you start to practice this, you'll be able to move through it pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, so I love this. I love this process. It's so simple, so easy to apply. And again, like Lori was just saying, the more you practice, the easier it is to catch and implement. So a big, huge part of the work that we do as spiral practitioners and in lots of other areas is actually including integration. So we're just going to give some examples of integration here. And we just like for you, while you're practicing, moving through, the trigger, meaning, and choice, these are things that can help us to integrate whatever it is we're moving through. So one of those things is just a 30-second orienting pause. So we just want to come back to orientation, a values and ethics check. So what actually is my role here? a consultation threshold, documentation prompt. What did I choose and why? And then boundaries, just implementing boundaries and looking for any kind of phrases that we can have in our toolbox. So insight without integration actually fades. And we want to choose 2 actions that you're going to use this week in order to help you shift. And I think another thing to add here is, yeah, insight without integration. We're staying stuck in our mental body when we aren't actually integrating and embodying. So we want to take what we know from the mental body into the physical body. So now we're embodying, we're able to move through the process much more quickly. This is what integration does for us. So a favorite of ours for really busy clinicians might be number 1, the 30-second orienting pause before you respond to something charged, or 2, a values and ethics check. So what is my role here and what is not my role? Very important questions. And then you want to document your choice point when it matters. So what did I choose and why? And that strengthens our accountability and our reflective practice. So I really love this integration and actions.
Mhm. I love it too. I I use both. I
Mhm.
use both quite often, and it's true. We integration is huge with us as spiral practitioners. It's part of the modality. Um, and for us, what we've noticed is that it's life-changing whenever we can do this. And it actually, we start to imprint this into the unconscious. So whenever we keep saying that, right, about how like, gosh, this sounds like it's like a lot to move through, but when you're actually moving through it, it happens super fast. And so this 30 seconds of orienting, like that pause, that actually shortens down pretty quick. Like if it's 30 seconds, great. It's the slowdown, right? Because whenever we pause, now we create that space for maybe when something's like super intense, it can actually calm down a little bit, or you might even be able to gain more clarity from your client or whoever it is that you're supporting and working with. Um, but that pause is mostly for you, not necessarily for them, but it's for you to kind of gain your ground, right? Like get your feet put back under, especially if the rug's been pulled out from under you. So it's able for you to gain composure and to actually process. So it's the response, right? We're going to pause for the response. But when I am now that I've been able to practice this for years now, it's like it's that values check. And you and I work together often enough to where you probably hear me say that a lot. It's like we always go back to our core values. So with Red Lotus Life, we have our core values. And we always reflect back to the core values. Is this in alignment with the core values? So for me as a practitioner, it's easy for me to just go, first of all, what's my role? Am I in my role as practitioner? And also, is this in alignment with the ethics and values of Red Lotus Life? So for those of you who don't have those in place, it is super important to put those in place because you can always fall back on them. That way you're not spinning out. It happens super fast. You're grounded in who you are, your integrity with your practice, and who you're here to serve too. So it's almost like the boundaries on ourselves, right? It's boundaries
Mhm.
on ourselves, so we don't actually have to really think about it. It just is.
It is. It is. And we have practiced over and over and over again, not only with ourselves, but with all of our clients as well. And
Mhm.
so now that we have talked about integration, we actually want to go into intention and writing an intention statement. So we're just as an example, it's going to say something like, in my role, I intend to practice with XYZ intention. So some examples that can be filled into that blank might be steadiness, clarity, dignity, boundaries, curiosity, and for me, it's always integrity. So now we want to actually write out our intention statement for your said role. So in my role, I intend to practice with clarity, integrity, or I intend to practice with steadfastness and dignity. So the point is actually to name what you want steering the ship when the protective system activates. Because our impact is shaped by intention and awareness. Again, going back to intention and awareness. Yeah, so it's, our intention doesn't have to be anything big. It can be just this simple, or you can expand on that if you would like as well. And I know that Lori has lots to say about intention here.
Like, I don't know if I have lots to say, but you know me. I mean, we've worked together for years now, and it's like, and we both believe this, this is the structural foundation of our practice and its intention. So this whole thing is like, it's easy. I know that ours is both pretty much the same. It's like, as long as, first of all, we have clarity, right? Whenever there's barely what I was talking about, we have clarity around who it is we're here to serve. We have clarity around our core values of our practice and of Red Lotus Life. And for me, my intention and my role. So if this was the statement, right? What was the statement again? Let's see. In my role, I intend to practice with, right? And we're at the point where we fill in that blank. Mine's integrity every single time. And that's why it's so easy for me to like shift back into integrity with the work that we do. Like, who are we here to help with our core values? The core values, not only personally, but also with the business and the practice. So it's like, it's really easy whenever it's easy to make that choice when we have set that intention. It's easy to figure out, am I responding or am I reacting? And what is appropriate, and to really make sure that the ethics are involved here, because that's so huge if any of us are in this work with social work, right? This is huge for us to stay within those ethics and those boundaries of that. And the first part is really getting clear on that first. So it's like, yeah, the lighting here is crazy. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're super cloudy. I saw myself get super pink, but that's because of the red rocks out here in southern Utah. All of a sudden everything got pink, and now it's like all bright again. But we can't stress it enough how much that actually creates ease and flow as you're working with your clients and patients, or basically anyone, right? Anyone. So yeah, intention and awareness. This is also, I'm going to say this last part that you had shared, because I think it's really important too. But the
Okay.
last part that you said here, and this was inspired by Clear Your Ship by Dane Thomas as well, was the point is to name what you want steering the ship when the protective system activates, because our impact is shaped by intention and awareness. So it is our protective system, it is our nervous system. And whenever we're able to step aside from that, like we have it in our awareness, oh, wow, this is me, this is my nervous system, not theirs, right? And then we're able to kind of put that into check and then shift back into alignment with our role and this intention. It really changes everything. A lot of the anxiety or overwhelm that some of us may be feeling tends to take care of itself when we have this foundational piece.
Yeah. So we're just going to move on and go over the key takeaways here. Reactivity is human. Choice is a skill. Choice is a skill. We're always going to want to come back to practicing, moving through the trigger, naming it, giving it meaning, and then making a choice to create a pause, for example, here with ethics and dignity. And then we always want to be able to choose at least 2 integration actions that make it stick. And Lori and I call this inspired action. This is something that we talk about over and over and over and over again, almost daily. What is going to be our inspired action? So your nervous system is going to be human. That's not actually the problem. The skill is building more moments of choice. So moving from trigger to choice gives you a simple pause to just come back to your role, your ethics, and your dignity. And then again, just reiterating that integration, choosing 2 integration actions and use them this week. So actually go and put it into practice. And remember that small reps create big change. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also the key point, right? Is that your nervous system is human. That's the
Yes.
human part about all this, and to not beat yourself up or and also not to hide behind it, right? It's like both of those things. And so it's really important that it's not the problem, that this is a skill. Having it in your conscious awareness that you have a choice, this is a skill, and let's practice it. So it's the small reps that actually create the big changes. And when we have these big changes in our practices, now we can actually impact more people, which is why we're all in this work anyway, right? Is to be able to impact. So, yeah, the small reps create big change. You will see as you implement this practice, the trigger, the meaning, and the choice into your professional and personal lives, you're going to start to notice like a huge shift in ease. And especially if you're able to fall back, fall back on those core beliefs and those like not core beliefs, but core standards, right? Those core values. And then you're able to fall back on your intention, like always just bring in your intention. Well, what's my role here? Well, my role is to be, what is it? My role is I intend to practice with me integrity, right? I don't know what yours is, Sarah. Do you have yours?
Integrity.
Yeah, I figured it's
It's
probably
always
integrity.
integrity.
Yeah, and so it's always like there's no question whenever that's in your awareness, and that's really anchored in who you are and how you actually run your practice or how you actually are, with your clients and everything. Because, yeah, right now these times are crazy and people's emotions are very heightened and they're behaving in ways that they wouldn't normally behave because they are in survival mode. So it is our role as a practitioner and social worker to be able to respond versus react to their nervous system, right? It's keeping our nervous system going, oh, wow, yeah, that's mine. Okay, I'm gonna shift back into this. And then, yeah, our impact is going to be there. We're this work is so needed in the world right now. And this is also something that is actually really awesome to even teach your people this too, for them to, so trigger, meaning, choice. This little micro practice, it will actually really help them as well. So trigger, meaning, choice. Yeah. Do you have
Uh,
anything else?
no, I feel complete. I think we're moving into just a little bit of information now with the CEs and next steps.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll start to wrap this up. All right, so if you are taking this for CEs, just make sure that you're doing the post test, the evaluation, all of those things. To complete the course, just move to the post test and then complete the evaluation. And once those are done, your certificate will be issued. If you are taking the pilot test and you're getting the free CEs, thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you. Make sure that you are doing the post test. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of you are part of the pilot testing program, and we appreciate you so much. Your feedback, it helps us tremendously. So thank you for that. But also make sure you're completing everything because we can't actually give you the CE until all of these things are done and everything is complete. So make sure that you're doing all of that. And then thank you for the work that you do and your willingness to practice the self-responsibility and the service of the client's safety and dignity. That's huge. So, Thank you for joining us. If you are interested in more CEs and diving deeper into the different principles and teachings and workshops and retreats and everything that we have going on all the time, we welcome you to join us for the next live webinar or event. So for more information, you can visit or register by calling the mobile phone number, which is 435-705-1136. Or you can go to the website. That's probably the easiest route. Go to www.redlotuslife.com. That is where you can also sign up for the pilot testing program where you are eligible for free CEs. So go out there and do that. And then you can also email at hello@redlotuslife.com. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your comments, your feedback, what you found of value with this, or what it is that you're looking to seek more of, because we want to be of service to all of you. So thank you for joining us today. Okay, bye.
And